Hey guys, this is Mel, and I'm back to talk about The 100, episode 513, titled Damocles Part 2, which premiered Tuesday, August 7th, 2018 on the CW. I'm recording roughly 15 minutes after the episode has aired, and it is the season finale, so huge spoiler alert. If you haven't seen the episode already, please go do so first. Really need to go see it. Otherwise, yeah. Please see that and then come back and see what I have to say about the episode. Totally blanked there for a moment there. But otherwise, I'm going to try to do this in 15 minutes. So I'm going to do the clock very quickly. And let's start with what happened in this episode. So timeline-wise, we are picking up straight where 512 had ended off. And that is pretty much seeing the rover returning to the desert or the wasteland and trying to rally the troops. And then it picks up the next morning. So that's for timelines. Episode reminder, I can pretty much gonna remember this not only as a season finale, but the fact that we are starting another space adventure issue, kinda. So there's that. Episode objective, though, is pretty much surviving Apocalypse 3. I mean, Apocalypse 1 was what originally set off the nuclear apocalypse. Apocalypse 2 is pretty much prime fire. And then Apocalypse 3 is what Mercury had set off in this episode. So 3 storylines I pretty much, broken down to, or I guess you could say 3 parts. First part was getting to Eden and ending the war. Second part was surviving Damocles, which is the bomb or missile that Mercury ends up dropping. And the third one was trying to find a solution now they're up in space, so cryo sleep. So with the first storyline, we get Maddie taking charge as Haida, as all of one crew surrenders under her control, with Octavia taking the first step. And with help from the Flame, she orchestrates a way to get them all through the gorge and into Eden to take control and have Mercury dethroned and his unit out of rank, or I think they're all shot down. The ones pretty much who were torturing Raven and Shaw, but not before Mercury had set the missile down on Eden, stating that if he couldn't have it, nobody can, which is the stupidest thing ever. But the second part leads to surviving that missile named Damocles, which had the characters only having 15 minutes left until it dropped and made impact. So everyone was rushing to get to the Allegiance ship so that they could take off and seek refuge into space and go back to that mothership that they had left up there. Which leads to the third step. The third storyline, which was pretty much Shaw gave a rundown over the fact that due to their fuel supply, he gave them a certain amount of timeline. So then that led to their decision to go into cryo sleep for 10 years and then see what happens with it. It turns out they stayed asleep for 125 years because the Monty and Harper, who were the ones who stayed awake, monitored everything, and Monty kept them all asleep until he could find a way for them to survive. Because over the 10 years, nothing of Earth changed, continued forward. As the years kept going, nothing else changed until he found a way, but in order to get that way, he had to keep them in sleep longer. So you can kind of think of it like the movie The Passengers, I think, with Chris Pratt and... I think I got it right. Is it Chris Pratt? Yeah, Chris Pratt and crap. Probably have the name wrong. I get all the Chris's mixed up in the Marvel universe. Guardians of the Galaxy one, though. Come on, Google. But yeah, the space movie with Jennifer Lawrence and yeah, Chris Pratt. So think of it like that, kind of. So with that decision, everybody who survived on the ship ended up going into cryo sleep because there were 500 pods and there was less than that of them. So they didn't have to make a list or anything to cut people down. And they end up that the last moment of the episode is the fact that 125 years later, and they find themselves just arriving at the new planet that Allegiance 3 had set out to search for before Apocalypse 1 had started. And it apparently is a planet with 2 suns, and that's their new salvation, I guess you could say. So moving on to that quickly, Tibbits, we do meet Jordan. He happens to be the son of Monty and Harper. He was born 2 years into the cryosleep 10 years, and he was named after Jasper, since his name was Jasper Jordan. Also, Jordan was the one who woke Bellamy and Clarke up first from cryosleep so that they can watch Monty's video messages first and by themselves. And it was in one of those messages that Harper and Monty asked Bellamy and Clarke to watch out for their boy. So there's that. Also in this episode, we see all the characters reunited, theoretically, since they're all on the ship and all of our known characters did survive. So there is that. We have all space crew reuniting together. So there's that. Also, we have a council of sorts that had formed to decide the fate of the human race. The council included all of space crew. That was Bellamy, Raven, Echo, Murphy, Monty, and Harper. And then they were accompanied with Clarke, Maddie, and Shaw. And they kind of decided on the cryosleep way to kind of preserve life until they figure out a way to survive further. Also, another tidbit is the fact that on Maddie's cryosleep screen, she was labeled as Maddie Griffin. So I love that. Also, we see in this episode that Gaia had taught Maddie how to access the flame while she was awake, because previously she was only able to do so through her dreams. And that's how she was able to figure out a way to win the war. So there is that, which I thought was pretty cool. But moving on to ship status very quickly. The major ship focus you get in this episode, I would say, is Monty and Harper, because you pretty much get to see their lives through Monty's video diaries. And from the sounds of it, they lived a long and happy life together due to the fact that they were the only two people on the ship that were awake, right? So very similar to the movie Passengers, right? And they lived until they died of old age. And Harper seemed to have died from her genetic illness that Clarke had voiced as an issue in season 4 when she originally created the list of the 100 that would survive from Prime Fire initially, if you remember. But it didn't come into an issue for Harper until really later on in her life, when she was in her an older woman. So there's that. We do see Bellamy and Clarke not only reuniting again in this episode, but returning to their being partners with each other, taking on the fact that they now have to save the human race together again, type of thing. Taking on that responsibility together. They kind of look like they've settled their issues. He claims that he's not mad with Clarke anymore about what happened at Polis. He learns about other things, which I'll bring up later, of course. So there's that. Raven and Shaw, we see them both being tortured to get the other one to fly the ship by McCreary. But in the end, Raven is willing to do McCreary's bidding to prevent Shaw from losing his leg when that was threatened. I guess she didn't want him to go through the same pain that she has gone through. So there's that. We do see a bit of strain between Bellamy and Octavia. They really only had a true one-on-one scene together when he's about to put her to sleep. She makes comment on the fact that it's kind of like putting her under the floor back in her childhood. So there's that. They still say that they love each other, but there's that strain. And Bellamy makes the point that a part of him will always love her since she is his sister, but then there is that part of him that wishes that a part of her had died, and she understands that. So there is that. Also, we do have Murphy and Amori, I believe, renewing their love for each other, or at least Amori stating that she couldn't leave him behind when he tells her to, because he had gotten shot twice. So it looks like things could be going back together between the two of them. I don't know. So there's that. Also with Abby and Kane, we don't actually see Kane, but it's implied that he was having surgery done on him. But Abby refuses to leave him behind. Claims that she won't leave the man she loves behind. She works on him to try to repair him from Vincent's attack from the previous episode. So there's that. Moving on to the most shocking moment of the episode, I will have to say it is the discovery of a new planet. I definitely didn't think cryosleep was going to be an option for them. I thought they were really going to try to redo the whole arc thing again. If they had to escape on to space, I mean, if they didn't disarm the missile. But I definitely didn't expect them to actually travel to another planet, which I'm very excited to see how that is going to go. But that was a surprise there. But moving into top 3 favorite moments, I will have to say a huge one I did like was the fact that Bellamy specifically tells Maddie to break the cycle when she initially orders the kill order for all the Allegiance prisoners, and he tells her no. And then he brings up the fact that we're doing the exact same thing that we did 6 years ago, and he even brought out the parallel of the Allegiance are standing where the 100 originally stood 6 years ago, arriving to the ground and invading the Grounders' land, and then starting a war. And then I love the fact that during this whole speech Bellamy was having to Maddie, you also see the focus on Octavia and Miller, because they were both there, and they're both truly, either it dawns on them or they're acknowledging the fact that, yeah, this is what's happening, we're now on the other side of this type of thing. And I really like he brought up that bit of history, and then he's trying to change that, he's trying to do better, and I really love that. And also with that, I also like all the different parallels we got specifically to season 1. One major one being the closing of the ship door, very similar to 113's closing of the drop ship door before they let a mini takeoff happen that roasted all the Grounders that were attacking them. I really like the fact that it was Clarke who closed the door both times. I like that you saw the difference, the fact that the first time she had to leave Bellamy outside, the second time she didn't want to do that. And I was at one point when he was refusing to go in because he didn't want to leave the remaining friends behind that he had. I thought that when he told her that she had to do what she needed to do, but he was not leaving them, I thought she was going to stand out there with him and just let Raven shut the door. But luckily, they arrived when they did with like 12 seconds to spare, and they all got on the ship, and she closed the door in time for them to take off as the Damocles missile touched ground. So I like the parallel between the door, the dropship door there. I did also like the fact that we have a whole bunch of parallels with like the Allegiance prisoners being where the 100 originally stood and all that. I guess that was kind of the major one. I like all the little callbacks back to season 1, like with Octavia going to sleep, kind of like going sleeping under the floor, kind of that kind of a callback too. Also with Jordan, I don't know. Yeah, Jordan, when he initially greets Bellamy and Clarke, he says mom and dad, and really that wasn't really teased about since the Delinquents, right? When they always tease the fact that Bellamy and Clarke kind of had that type of a role as co-leaders. I'm not sure if that was actually taken from the show or if that's me getting it from many fan fictions that I've read set in that time. But that immediately made me think of season 1 because I associate that with that time period. So there is that. Probably a bunch of other parallels that I'm missing. Oh, I guess you can kind of tie it back to the fact that the threat of Shaw losing his leg is a tie back to Raven actually losing the feeling of her leg in 113, although not confirmed until season 2. So I guess you can kind of tie that back in there. You also had the little nod that Raven has that she says, like, for once, I'd like to take off when a planet is not burning type of thing. So that was a fun little thing there. But yeah, that's pretty much it there. And then another major favorite, I would have to say, has to be Bellamy and Clarke. Not only do they reunite in this episode, but a lot of stuff happened between them in this episode. Initially, we first got Maddie actually telling Bellamy about Clarke's radio calls she made to him every day for the last 6 years. And Maddie knows that you didn't know about that, did you? She actually told him that. And it looked like on his face that surprised him. Like he was shocked that that is something she did consistently for that many years. And I don't know if that changes his mind whatsoever. Which I'll get back to in a minute. We also have Bellamy inviting Clarke to help decide the fate of the human race, and the way he says it, it's like we got to do this again, and it's like it's rested on both our shoulders type of thing. So it was great to see them falling back into the old partnership they used to have as cold leaders. So there's that. Also, I like the fact that Clarke brought up her worries over how she thought Bellamy was mad at him for her actions in Polish and leaving him behind. Really, when it comes to these two, Polish just has a bad history between them because 303 comes to mind when Bellamy went to Polis to get Clarke. She refused to go with him. She turned her back on him. And then this one, she turned her back on him again in Polis in 510, or 509, I should say, at the end. So them and Polis do not see eye to eye ever. But that was interesting. And then when she brought that up, Bellamy said the commander ordered me not to. But I'm wondering if he's just joking and he's taking that into consideration, or it's because he knows about the radio calls and that's why he's not as angry as he is. So I don't know about that, but it'll be interesting to see. There's the timer. It'll be interesting to see how he brings up the fact that he knows about the calls to Clarke, and if that changes anything between them, or if that brings some type of acknowledgement between them or something. I don't know. I've been reading a lot of fan fiction what ifs about that scenario, and I'm glad that he knows about them now. I mean, it's been a while. I'm glad he knows. So there's that. I also love the fact that Clarke woke up first, and then it was Bellamy, and then that was it. I like it had to be the two of them that watched Monty's videos together and fully experienced what their friends had gone through for the rest of their lives, which was heartbreaking to see. Like, you see their reactions to the video, and then you see you don't see me, but pretty much it mimics them, but like times 10. They're shedding a few tears. I'm bawling my eyes out over seeing Monty and Harper, and the older they get and the more message you get, and then just know that soon that video message is going to be their final one, and knowing that it was emotional, like really. I wasn't expecting it, but I like that Bellamy and Clarke got to experience those videos together, and then with Jordan, obviously, but I like the fact that it was just the two of them that got to see it for the first time, and then just to experience that together. And I like the fact that Monty and Harper programmed it specifically and gave Jordan instructions to specifically wake up Clarke and Bellamy first, and they even had specific messages for them. And the fact that they asked the two of them to look out for their son for him, kind of like making them godfather and godmother to Jordan. I really love that. I can't wait to see how that's going to be explored next season, and just how it's going to work out, because I love that Monty and Harper gave them that responsibility afterwards, after all that they've done and everything together and been through. It's just like, it gets me too. Like, I can't wait to see how that turns out, but then the fact it tears me up that Monty and Harper aren't going to be there as well. But yeah, I really like the fact that it's another thing tying Bellamy and Clarke together, in a sense. And then I also love the fact that the last scene of the episode is pretty much Bellamy holding Clarke by his side, or into his side, as they look out on this new planet that they've just arrived at, and they're just overwhelmed with emotion over the fact that this is their new life now, type of thing. I just love that scene, the emotional impact behind it. And also at San Diego Comic-Con, Bob and Eliza kept referencing the fact that their favorite scene together was the scene in the season finale, which is what happened in the time jump. So I really liked how that happened. And then my last favorite would have to be, I was going to put it as a shocking moment, but then I figured, no, I'll put it as a favorite. And that is when Wonkru bowed down to Maddie after Octavia bowed down to Maddie first, when she relinquished her power as the leader of Wonkru and gave it rightfully to the new Haida, the new commander. And for some reason, that scene brought tears to my eyes that I definitely was not expecting, so I'm surprised how much it hit. But then I also love the magnitude of the scene itself. Hold on. Alright, where was I? So that particular scene, I love the magnitude behind the situation, how just Octavia relinquishing that role, or that position, and then all of Wonkru seeing her do that, and then following into and doing what they wanted to do. Because it was very interesting when Octavia was coming towards Maddie, everyone on Wonkru instinctively was like, protect the commander. they already had their guns trained on Octavia, and it was so instinct of them to put their loyalty toward their commander, the one who had the flame. And well, it sucks for Blonde Reina, because that means they had more fear towards her than loyalty. And then to have her lay down her sword, or I guess throw down her sword, and give that control back. It was such a powerful scene, and it has to be one of my favorites. It definitely shows a huge magnitude of emotion there. So I'll leave it at that. Moving on to top 3 peeved moments. The only peeves I really had was the fact that Monty and Harper are now confirmed dead. They definitely aren't going to be returning for this new journey onto a new planet. And even the video message about it for Monty, he says, like, when he's kind of sort of talking to Bellamy and Clarke as they see the planet for the first time, and Monty's like, do you see it? Is it beautiful? It is in my dreams. Or something along those lines. And he says it, and he's imagining it, and that it just pisses me off that Monty won't be able to experience it for himself. And that's a huge peeve of mine, because I loved Monty. And I wanted to see more of his relationship with Harper. I wanted to see them have that happy ending. And I guess it soothes the peeve a little bit to know that they did technically live out a long and happy life together, except I don't get to see it. It is implied through the videos, of the little snippets we get to see of their life. It is implied that they did get that happy ending. Which, okay, I'm fine with. I just don't like the fact that I don't get to see it. I don't get to experience, and I don't get to enjoy their journey with them, type of thing. So that's a peeve there. And I'm going to miss them. Those two were great characters. They had great potential. I wish we just got to see more of it. So there's that. Another peeve, minor though, was the fact that Bellamy didn't get a chance to bring up the radio calls to Clarke before they went into cryo sleep. Now that they know what the next big issue is for them 125 years in the future, I think it's gonna be a while before he brings that up, or he's got to find a moment of downtime to be able to bring that up, right? So there's that. But moving on to what moment will I remember most when I look back on this episode, aside from the fact that it's the season finale, and thankfully it's the season finale and not a series one. I had too much emotion from that one last week with the originals. But anyways, with this episode, I will remember Monty's video messages to Bellamy and Clarke about pretty much spanning his whole life, his experiences, and then specifically the direct messages he made to Bellamy and Clarke. I'll definitely remember that. It's probably always going to bring a tear to my eye, but there's that. But moving on to random questions, I really only have the one at the moment that I could think of, and it is a question of, is it safe to assume that McCreary was left to die on Earth? I'm assuming that once they knocked him out, maybe they kind of kicked his body off the ship unconscious and left him there to kind of deal with the aftermath of him dropping the missile. So I'm wondering, I hope he's still not on the ship, because that's going to be a huge problem in itself. So there's that. Yeah. But moving on to predictions, since this was the finale, no promos, no synopsis, no nothing. We didn't get any spoilers from San Diego Comic-Con, because that would have been huge spoilers for the finale. But these are my hopes for Season 6. And since it is a mid-season return, I'm pretty much going to have to wait 9 months to see it. Definitely until next year. But here's my hope. I hope that when it comes to this new planet, I really hope that the descendants of Allegius 3 aren't on the new planet. And I really hope we do not have to go through the whole story of Allegius 3 being the new grounders of this new planet, and our characters that are on the ship being the new invaders and dropping down onto their territory and inciting a new war. We've done it with Season 1. We just finished it again with Season 5, with us being on the other side of the issue. I don't want to see it a third time. I would love to see more exploration of what this new planet could hold. I want to see how exactly they're going to start building a colony. How are they going to be able to make the planet survivable for them, or make it more livable for them? Because I want to see the discovery of what this new planet could bring for them. I want to see that. I also can't wait to see if it's possible for them to do better this time around. I mean, Monty kind of pointed out that question in his videos, hoping that they could do better this time, that it's not humanity's fault that they've found themselves at war so many times and brought the apocalypse, a few many more. But I'm wondering if the third time really is the charm for them to get the equation of survival correct this time. So I'll be interesting to see that. It seems like Bellamy has definitely learned from his past. It seems like Clarke may have forgotten a bit. It could be that her instincts had changed to kind of shoot first, ask questions later. But it seems like maybe, again, head and heart, they got to learn together. They're better together type of thing. So hopefully we'll see something better forming, or at least them trying to learn from their past mistakes in the situation. So I can't wait to see how that progresses. Also, in general, it'll be interesting to see how leadership is dealt with this time. Will it be Bellamy and Clarke back in control once again? Would it be Maddie because she's the commander? Would this makeshift council with Maddie, Clarke, Shaw, and Space Crew be in control still, kind of like as kind of like the council was back on the Ark? Or are they going to create a new system? What are they going to do? And they also have to deal with the Allegiance prisoners. I mean, they saved their lives. And then they said now they got to prove to them that they deserved to be saved type of thing. So I'm very curious to see how the next season will be. And while I love parallels, I hope it's not like a glaringly obvious repeat of a storyline. Like in a sense, this one kind of was with season 1, but this was a good reboot to the concept. But I'm definitely excited to see what season 6 has in store. I'm still surprised that we're now jumping 125 years into the future. But yeah, and sadly, the Earth is still not survivable. Well, I guess you wouldn't. I guess it wouldn't be in this. Guess the planet wouldn't have been in the same state it was initially after the first apocalypse. I mean, it's been through a third one, right? So makes sense. But anyways, that's about it, guys. So what did you guys think of the season finale? What did you guys like about it? What do you think is going to happen in season 6? Let me know in the comments down below. Love to hear your own thoughts, theories, and opinions about all of that. Also, if you like, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and check out my other videos if you haven't done so already. Again, if you want, check out my Tumblr page. Link for that is down below. I reblog, promos, web clips, quotes, gifs, synopses, news, all that good stuff, all found in one place. Go check that out. I do have to update. I solely know this. And it'll just take some time. But also WordPress account, link for that is down below. Anything I post online is connected to my WordPress account. It is more organized, but it is a work in progress. Again, I really need to take like a good weekend and just focus all my attention on binge updating both sites. I have a system. And usually once I get into it, I don't stop until it's all done. So I really need to set a time to do that. So yeah, so be on the lookout for that. But otherwise, guys, that is pretty much it. But thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your patience. I hope you come back next year when season 6 returns to see what I have to say about this new season, or hopefully we get more spoiler news or something similar before then, because this is just too long of a wait. But until then, guys, this is Mel. Wish you all a great day, a great weekend, wherever you are, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your summer. Take care. Bye.